Go language programming, chapter 2, unit 3. Overview of Go language functions. So basically functions are divided into a source code. So the whole idea behind the function is to divide a big chunk of code into a smaller piece of code. Okay, and that makes your program basically reusable, because or each function will be reusable, and also your code will become much more readable. Okay, because of the different functions that you have within your source code. So in Go language, which we already have discussed about how the functions are declared, especially when we were working with a main function only, which is the entry point for every Go language program. It was starting with a function func keyword. Okay, so even if you have created your own function, it must start with a function keyword, func keyword. Okay, and then of course you have to give the function name, and then the signature of the function meaning the parameter list, okay, for the functions, and it might have a return value, that the return statement within the function. Okay, so we're going to cover how to declare your own function body, and how to have the parameters within the parameter list, and how the return statement works within the function body. A function can take 0 or more typed arguments. So basically, when you create your own function, it may have some parameters, or it may not have any parameters. Okay, so it depends upon how you write your function body. So the argument type in function, parameter. So argument type comes after the variable name. Okay, so and that's what we have seen in Go language. So Go language basically have the type on the right side of a variable name. Whenever you declare a variable, the type of the variable will be on the right side. Okay, in a language like C, the type of the variable is on the left side of the variable name. So and the arguments are separated by a comma. Okay, so basically in a Go language function declaration, for the parameter, every parameter must be separated with a comma. Functions can be defined to return any number of values that are always typed. So basically, you can return any number of values that you want to. Like in C language, you can only return only one value from a function, but Go language allows you to return as many return values that you wish, based on the logic of the code that you write within the function. If there is only one return value, the name can be omitted, and no need to have a parenthesis. So basically, we will go over each way of declaring it in a minute. But you know, if you have only one return, then the way that you will have the declaration for return value, you don't need to have the name. You can just have, so you can omit the name, and no need to have the parentheses, so you can omit the name basically. Okay. If the function has a return values, function must have a return statement somewhere in the body. So if a function has a return value, so then that means function must provide a return statement somewhere in the body, based on the logic of the code that you write for the function. Okay. So let's look at each cases here, how the functions declared in a Go language. So this is a very simple way. The very first one, where in that case you have a func keyword must be there, and then the name of the function, and then there are no parameters, so you just have the parentheses. Okay. And then after that parentheses, after the right parentheses, you have a you have the body of the function starts. So curly braces, left curly braces, and then the right curly braces to end the body. So this curly braces must be on the same line as the function name. Okay. If you try to put this curly braces on the next line, then the compiler will generate an error. So if you have a parameters within a function, on the parameter list, then this is the way that you declare it. So you use a function func keyword and then the name of the function, and this is the parameter list. So as you can see, the name of the parameter is coming on the left side of a type of the parameter. So this param1 has a type string, param2 has type int. Okay. And these two parameters are separated with a comma right here, and then the body of the function starts with the curly braces, and the left curly braces in the same line as the function name. Okay. If you have parameters with the same type, meaning multiple parameters of the same type, okay, then you do not need to have the this type. Both parameters do not need to show the type. Okay, the type can be shown only once. So that means they both parameters are of type int in this example. Okay. So that's how that you can declare the parameters. If all the parameters that you want to pass are the same type, you just have to declare a type only one time. So return type declaration, no parameters are passed. So in this case, there are no parameters in this function. Okay. And the function of course starts with the keyword func and then the name of the function. And then in this case, if you are returning the return type must be but must be given in the same line as the function name right after the parameter list of the function. So this is the return type. Okay. Of course, you will be returning some data with a return statement, but you must give a type right after the name of the function. And then, of course, you have to give the start of the body, which is with the curly braces. Okay, left curly braces and the right curly braces. Okay, so that's how you return the one single value from the function. Okay, return multiple values. Now, if you want to return multiple values, then you have to tell the values type right after the parameter list. So this is a parameter list. In this case, is of course there are no parameters, but the parameters list ends with the right parentheses, and right after that, these are the return types for the function. Okay, so we have two return types in here. So one is of integer type, the other one is a string type. So you have to tell, and you have to make sure you put them in the parentheses. Okay, right? If you have a single return, uh, then you just say the type, no parentheses. Even if you put a parentheses right here, it's okay. You know, a compiler is not going to complain. You can put a parentheses right here. But if you have two values that you want to return, then you have no choice but to put the parentheses. And then, of course, it comes the body of the function, which starts with the left curly braces and ends with the right curly braces. And the left curly braces is on the same line as the function name. Okay. And right here, the call to a function the call to a function, when you do this declaration right here with the returning the two parameters, and when you call the function, of course this function return multi, is the name of the function. And then now at some other place in the code you are making a call, you basically are initializing the name of the function to the two different variables, and these variables will have the will hold the this data. Okay, this one will hold the integer data, and the other one will hold the string data. Okay, and you're declaring this variable with the var. Okay, and basically, since you are returning it automatically will assign those return values to these two different variables. So return multiple named results simply by return. So now in this case, what we have is again this parameter for the function. There are no parameters for this function. Okay, and we are still uh, going over the basically going over the returning of the values. So in this case, we are returning two different um, uh, variables, or two different type of variables. So one is of type integer, the other one is of type string. So these are the return type. So now, since I'm returning these, I do not need to, in the return statement, I do not need to give anything. It, it automatically, compiler will determine what to return. So as long as you have initialized, this return variable names with something, it will return automatically, because this in this syntax you are already telling that um, you have the age is of type int, and variable called name is of type string. Okay, this right after the parameter list for the function comes the return value. Okay, so that's how you return it. And then when you want to use it or call it, you just call it the same way as the previous one, the example that we were going over. So now when the call occurs, the return values will be initialized to these variables, how old and the first name. Okay, So that's how this this basically return values works in within a function. Um, Now let's look at the more examples in terms of a return in the next slide. So in Go language, type of the function parameter goes after the parameter name. Okay, so that's what we just we just discussed in the previous slide as well. So this is what we are talking about. This is a variable name, and the type goes after the variable name. Okay, the function return type is declared after the parameter list. So return type, which is a return type, and this is the parameter list right here. Okay, this is the parameter list, and right after the this right parentheses, the return type is declared. Okay, and then of course the function body starts with the left curly braces and ends with the right curly braces. Okay, and uh, in this case there is only one return value, so we just adding these two variables, but it is just returning a one value right here. Okay, and when this function is called, the add function, within this main function, we just pass two values, two parameters to the function, with these two numbers 42 and 13. They will be added within the body of the function, and after the addition, the add function will return because of this return type, and the print line function will print that number, which is in this case is 55. So if function arguments are same type, no need to repeat the type, okay, which we just discussed in the previous slide as well. So there is no need to return a type for this parameter. You just have only one time this type, and it knows that these two parameters are of same type. And in this case also the return value is only one, so we do not need to put a parentheses around it, but if you want, you can put those parentheses as well. Okay, and then in this case we are basically um, uh, adding or calling the add function within the call to the print line. Okay, and of course it's going to print this value. Okay, so that's how these return works. Function returning multiple values. So in this example, 2-9 example, again start with the package main and then import the FMT. And then in this case, what we have is actual example, actual code that is running, and we went over how these multiple return values work. In this case, we are returning a string. So we are returning two strings. Okay, so both are string, but this function is taking a one parameter of type string. And then within the body of the function, we are declaring by using a var. Okay, we are declaring the region and the continent variables. They both are of type string. Okay, and then we are using a switch statement, which we went over in the last lecture, about that we were talking about after the if statement. Um, I think in chapter 1, unit 3. Okay, that's where we went over the switch statement. So in this case, the switch statement basically is the one the will have this parameter will be used. That is coming from the a function called location. Okay, and depending upon what what is the city name, it will go in that case. So there are three different cases right here. So if the case doesn't match, then of course it will go to this default one. But notice that also the switch statement in Go language allows us to have within a one case to have multiple uh, checks. Okay, so that's what we are doing right here. Los Angeles, LA, Santa Monica. So basically, whatever the city is, it is, it will go to matching one of this, and it will come to here. Now, when it comes to this part right here, Go language also allows to initialize the variables. Okay, these variables we already have declared, the region and continent. We It allows to initialize with some data as long as they are in the right sequence. This California will be initialized to the region, and North America will be initialized to the continent. So you can do this kind of all in one line in initialization for the variables with this kind of a data. Okay. So basically, in this case, what we are trying to show is that this function location will return two values. So when I call this function from main, this function called location, and I pass this city name Santa Monica, then it is going to come to right here city name Santa Monica, and then when it comes to this case, it will check, is it a city is Los Angeles? No, it is not. It's a Santa Monica. Is it LA? No, it is not. So it is Santa Monica. So it is going to come to here and initialize this um, two strings to this these variables within the function region and the continent. Okay, and then in this example, in the main function, so main function is the one which is calling this our own function. Okay, and again it starts with the main function. Also it starts with func, and the start of the function is left curly braces and the right curly braces, and then the body is the one which is calling this location function, which is returning two different values, and they will be initialized with this variables. Okay, and these variables in this case, as you can see, this is a short initialization because these variables are different, region and continent. This region and continents are in the scope of this function location. These two are, this region and this continent is in the scope of the main function. So in this case, to initialize these two variables, this region and the continent, we are allocating the memory right in this block, this block which is for the main. And in this case, the memory will be allocated, and the return value from the location, which is going to be returning two different values, will be initialized to these two different variables at different memory locations. Okay, and then we are using a FMT package to call this function printf. Now this is a print function as well, but this is printf. So printf function is similar to a C language printf, which has a format specifier as well. So %s is a format specifier. These are called the format specifier. Okay, so in this case, what we are saying that, okay, region which we have created the variable right here within the main body of the main. So the scope of both region and the continent is only the scope within the body of this main. So basically, it will have the this variables will be printed. Whatever the data these two variables hold, they will be printed. Okay. In our case, one holds the region California. And then the continent is North America. Okay, so basically, that's the function returning multiple values. So now let's look at the empty return. What happens when the return statement is empty? Okay, so return statement without the argument returns the current value of the variable that are returned. Okay, so we'll see it in this example. If variable names are in the return list, return statement can be left empty. So that means that you do not need to have anything in the return statement. So here what we have is that again, we have a package main in the we are going over the code 2-10, and then import the fmt package, and then we are creating the body for the function called location. And the body starts with the func keyword, and then the name, and then the parameter list right here. In this case, the both parameters are of type string, so the type you just can be set only one time, and then this is the return values, and the return values also are both of the same type. So then you can just have only declare the type one time. Okay, so in this case we have a switch statement. So in this switch statement, if the city is matching one of these in one of these case, then basically you come to right here, and then it will return. So region will be empty. It is not assigned to a string value. So in this case, basically, return statement will not have anything. Okay, so when it comes to calling of this function, so this function is taking two parameters right here. They both are of type string. So we are passing two strings in here. One is the name of the person, the other one is the name of the city. And then we are using again a printf, which requires that you have the format specifier. So we are giving the format specifier, and then we are checking if region is equals to empty string. Okay, so in this case, this will print out that it is an empty string. Okay, so if it is an empty string because there was no match in here, so this region was empty. Okay, there was nothing was assigned to it. So in this case right here, when we go to region right here, we are assigning the continent, but we are not assigning anything to the region. So region is empty. Okay, and when you do the return, and then this function returns two value. One is actual data it will returning, but there is no data in the for the region, so it will have the empty. So then we are checking right here If the region is empty, then print out this. Okay, so that's how this code is working. And the next is we will go over the anonymous function. Basically, the idea behind the anonymous function is to be able to declare a function that doesn't have a name. Okay, and it can be declared and it is considered as an inline. Okay, so the anonymous functions are also called a first class function. Okay, they're considered a first class functions. Anonymous functions can be assigned to a variable passed as an argument to another function and returned from the another function. So these are the things that you can do with anonymous functions. Okay, and we will see how they work. So anonymous functions are also useful to create inline functions. So inline functions in other languages basically like a inline keyword C++ provides. That means that the code for the function will be inserted at a place where you made a call to the function. Okay, so in that case, the for inline functions, the stack memory is not used because actual code gets inserted whenever you make a call to the function. So that's how the inline functions work. So assign a function to a variable name. So in this case, what we are going to go in this example 2-11 is to see that we create an anonymous function, but assign then that function to a variable. Okay, so we start with a package main and then import the fmt package, and then the body of the main function with the func keyword, and then the body starts at line number 4 with the left curly braces and ends at line number 11 with the right curly braces, and at line number 5 within the body of this main, basically I am creating a anonymous function with a func keyword. Okay, so this is the anonymous function, and it is assigned to a variable called add. Okay, that's what this variable is. Now also notice that when we are assigning it to this variable will act like a function, okay, call when we use it. So but when we are assigning it, we are using a short declaration, colon equals to. So the body of the anonymous function starts right here, left braces, at the end of the after the parameter list. So this is the parameter list for anonymous function, and this is the return type for the anonymous function, and then the body it starts with the curly braces right here and ends at line number 7. Okay, and so within the body you can have as many statements for this anonymous function. So in this case there is only one statement, return statement, which is basically adding these two parameters that are passed to the function. Okay, that's all this simple anonymous functions do. So here at line number 10, what we have is a call to this function, an anonymous function, but we initialize the variable add with that the body of the anonymous function. So we are using the add name to call the anonymous function by passing these two parameters. So that's how the anonymous function basically works. Okay, so now let's look at the call how can you make a call of the anonymous functions directly? Okay, right here we made the call of the anonymous function by assigning it to some variable name. Okay, and we made a call right here at line number 10. But now in the next example, what we are going to go over is to make a call of the anonymous function directly. So in for that case, we without assigning it to any name. Okay, so so that's a direct call in this example. So again, we use a package main, okay, for assignment number 212. Example number 212, and then import the FMT package, and then the body of the main function, and then start of the body, curly braces in the same line as the function name, and ends at line number 11. Within the body of the main function, we are declaring an anonymous function with the keyword func. Now, it is a very simple anonymous function which doesn't have any parameters. It does not return any values. Okay, so it is a very simple, just one line, as you can see. And the body of this anonymous function starts right after the keyword func. Okay, and right after the parameter list. Of course, in this case, the parameter list is empty, and the body it starts at line number 7, and the body ends at line number 9 for the anonymous function. Now, this parentheses right here are very important to understand. If we would have any parameters passed, which is in the next example, then these parentheses will have the data that will be passed to this anonymous function, okay, which we will see it in this next example. So in this case, this anonymous function is basically will print out this message, and that's it. Okay, when the main function is called, this anonymous function is automatically called. Okay, this is basically an inline function. So right after the main, this function is called. Nothing, no other logic there. So that's why within the body of this anonymous function is just as a print line. So it will just print out this message on the on your display. Okay, so now let's look at the anonymous function, basically with the when you pass some arguments to the anonymous function, how to pass the arguments to the anonymous function. So we again declare the anonymous function within the main function. So first we create the program by having the main package within our source code, and then import the FMT because we want to be able to use a print line function from that package. Okay, and then we create a main function body. So main function body will start with the keyword func, and then the main, and then the parentheses of the main, and then the left curly braces, which is the start of the body for the main function, and then the end of the main function, which is at line number 9, the right curly braces. And then within the body of the main function, the anonymous function starts at line number 6, okay, with a keyword func. And now, as you can see, it is taking a one parameter, okay, of type string. The parameter name is a word, and then its type is a string, okay. And then the body of the anonymous function starts the curly braces on the same line as the name or the keyword func is right after the parameter list. okay, and ends at line number 9. So within the body, all I have is a call to the print line function, and then the parameter which is passed is used within the print line, and then this the at line number the where the end of the anonymous function occurs, which is at line number 8. Okay, the curly braces left, I mean the right curly braces. Okay, which makes the end of the anonymous function, and right after that, the parentheses that are there, they hold the data. So when I pass this light, that will be passed to this parameter, and that will be the one which will be printed right here. Okay, so that's how you can pass the parameters to the anonymous functions. Okay, let's look at the one more function called variadic function in the next slide. Okay, so let's see what the variadic functions are. So variadic functions can be called with any number of trailing arguments. So basically, variadic functions, the usage of the variadic function is you already been actually you already been using it. Whenever we use a print line function, okay, from the FMT package, print line is actually one that is written by the standard library in as a variadic function. Okay, and that means that you can pass as many number of parameters as you want. So, for example, that's what I was talking about, the print line. And in the library, there are many other places that the variadic functions are used. The one that allows you to have unknown number of parameter that need to be passed. So in this code, we are going over example 2-14, and we have a package main because we want our code to be executable. So we are using a package main, and then we import the FMT package, and then I am creating my own function called sum. Okay, and then it starts with func just like any other function that you create, and then the parameter of that function is basically the name of the parameter is args. Okay, that's the name of the parameter. Now right after the name of the parameter, you see these 3 dots right here. That means that we are creating a variadic function. Okay, and these parameters are going to be of type int, all of them. So take an arbitrary number of ints as an argument. So it will take as many arguments of type int that we want to pass. Okay, that's what this dot dot means. So in this case, when we do the print args, it will actually depending upon how we called it, it will tell us how many arguments were passed to this function. Okay, so in here, what we have is a for loop right here. Okay, and in this case, this in this code, we are using a different kind of a for loop, which is using a range. Okay, we will cover range in much more detail in the next slides, but I will just go over really quickly here. Is that this range basically gives us a way to go over each parameter, however many parameter are there. It could be 5 parameters, or it could be only 2 parameters. So it knows this for loop is smart enough because we are using this keyword range to go over each of the parameter. Okay, and then it will be returning the number. So the num is the variable that will be a short uh, um, uh, uh, you know um, way to create the variable because of this colon equals to. So each time that this range reads some number from this args, it will assign to a num. Okay, now as you can see, the other thing we have in this for loop is that this underscore, which we will again will discuss it more in more detail in the next lectures. But right now, quickly, is that this underscore means that this range is returning two values. Okay, one value holds the actual data which will be saved into this variable num. The other one, which we don't care, we don't want to save it, so that's why we use an underscore. Okay, and that's a very common way of ignoring some things in Go language, that this underscore is used for. But in this case, it is ignoring the second value, or the first value in this case. The second value is going to be right here. So the first value will be ignored. We don't want to save it. Okay. So if I would be using the first value, then the first value from the range will be the actually index. If I would use that first value, it will be the index. That means, in a index meaning the actual number of the parameter. Is it a first parameter, the second parameters, like that. So that's how it is used. So in this case, what we are doing is using this, whatever the range that returns the data, we are making a total of it. We are going over and over in this for loop, and it will save that total, or the sum of all the numbers, into the total, and we are using the print line to print the total. So when we make a call to the sum from the main function, okay, and in that case we are passing these two numbers, 1 and 2. Okay, so when we are passing 1 and 2, that means this range will put in the in this number, the data will be 1 at one time, and then the second time it will be 2. Okay, so this loop will go 2 times because we pass 2 parameters, because this is a variadic function. The sum is a variadic function, so we can pass as many parameters as we want, and we are just adding the in this for loop, we are just adding this data that we passed to this variadic function. Okay, so that's how this function is basically working. So this slide actually concludes this unit number 3, chapter number 2. Okay.